Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the new year. And of course, welcome to this podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I'm so pleased to welcome you to another episode. And of course, thank you so much for pushing play again to everybody who subscribes and listens. And a big warm welcome to the family for all our new subscribers and listeners too. How was your New Year's? Maybe you're still recovering from it. I know yesterday it was so hot here, but I was so lucky because we just had air conditioning installed. So we got to play with that all day yesterday, which is really nice. So today what I want to talk to you about is setting your intention in private practice, because I want you to leave from this episode with an action step that you can go and implement to improve your practice so that you can create a successful for you private practice in 2022. Sound good? Yes. Okay. So I guess the first thing to do is to really look at, what's an intention and why do we need to set them, or why is it a good idea to set them? Intentions look different for everybody, but generally speaking, the purpose of an intention is to focus your attention on something. And the reason that we want to do that is because whatever we focus on, we see more of. Okay. And I think this is really, really important. Let me give you a very simple example. If I said to you that I was going to go and buy a yellow Ferrari, you might think, oh, that's interesting, or good luck to Brooklyn. But if we had a conversation about yellow Ferraris and how I was going to buy one, then over the next few days, you would start to see yellow Ferraris. You might turn on the television, watch a film, and there's a yellow Ferrari. Or you might be driving somewhere and see a yellow Ferrari. Or you might be flipping through a magazine and see a yellow Ferrari. It's not that there's suddenly a whole lot more yellow Ferraris flying around. It's simply because your attention is now set to focus on Ferraris. And I think this is the concept of intention and intention setting is so important, because I think with the last 2 years with, what's been going on in the world, I think many of us have sort of been feeling sometimes a bit powerless, or as if we've had the rug pulled from under us and, we've been sort of scrambling to make the best of situations that aren't wanted. And what I've observed as a private practice coach, also as a mentor and supervisor for people in private practice, is there's, an energy of, this is how it is and I can't do it and nothing's going to work and I can't do this because of that, sort of that to me consciousness. And what's happening is people, not you specifically, but there are people around us in our communities as professionals that are very, very conscious and aware of restrictions and of the things that they cannot do. And so when they set an intention, even subconsciously, to look at, what's it going to be today, and what am I going to be restricted by today, and what's the, segregation going to look like today, and all of that sort of jazz, what happens is they see more of that, because it's on their mind, it's on their awareness. And so this goes part of the way to explain why some people's practices closed, why some people's practices, have taken really severe hits financially, really severe hits in terms of getting new referrals, all those sorts of things. And on the flip side of that, we've had other people whose practices have boomed. And part of this is because there are some people that are just in different states of awareness, number one, but also there is a part that intention plays. So I know from my own experience working with private practice owners that there are people in both of these camps, and there are some in the middle, and there's no right or wrong. Everybody's having their own experience, but we can have that experience consciously. And that's where we're living and creating a practice, at cause, right? We are the cause of what's happening in our practice, and that's where we feel empowered and we take control. Or we can live at effect in our private practice, and that's where we're saying, well, I can't charge this because Medicare rates that, and right? And this goes part of the way to explaining why it's sort of feast or famine, when we look at some private practices side by side. So I want you to reflect and really think about if you had a practice last year and the year before. I want you to allow yourself to go to that space and, go to that energetic space and really be honest with yourself and say, was I living at cause or was I living at effect? Maybe you were living at both. It's okay. But what we want to do is bring this into your awareness now so that you get to choose consciously how you want to create your private practice moving forward. Let's assume that these mandates and restrictions are going to be in place for a little while. Well, I'm from Victoria, so I don't know if you saw our fireworks. Pretty sad, I did enjoy watching Sydney's though. In Victoria for our fireworks for New Year's, the Mayor of Melbourne, Sally Capp, decided that she was going to sell some tickets and have ground level displays for two reasons. So she was saying she didn't want everybody coming into the city to spread germs and stuff like that, of course. But the other reason was she didn't really want unvaxxed people in the city. And, I was watching some footage of the Victorian New Year's celebrations, if you can call it that. And it was just so sad. I saw areas that had been fenced off with big orange, like mesh, and these big steel fences. The fences that you can just sort of put anywhere. I forget what you call them. Sorry, it's early in the morning. I'm still waking up. And inside there were like these big screens, like big movie screen, like an outdoor movie screen. And I watched footage online of people who were there, and they were walking around showing us, the difference between the segregated areas. And it was so interesting to me because there was nobody in the area where the tickets had apparently been sold out. And so that was kind of really sad. But when it comes to your private practice, I think it might be helpful for you to be more intentional and say to yourself, instead of saying, I wish it was different, I will wait until things go back to normal, whatever normal is in your state. I think it might be more helpful for you to sort of set the intention to roll with it instead of pushing against it and fighting against it, because when we wish things were different, we make it harder for ourselves because we create resistance. There's an energy of resistance, and that's just going to take you longer to create that private practice that's, successful for you during the next 12 months, for example. So I would encourage you to set an intention I set the intention to easily adapt my practice to what's happening, in my location at the time. I set that intention to thrive, despite what's going on in the world around me. I set the intention to find new ways to support clients that really, really need me. So that's one thing. The other thing that you can do, you can have an intention, but if you really want it to work, you have to connect with it. And connecting with that involves, creating some kind of either belief that you're going to embody or some kind of daily action, or both. So maybe a belief can be, in 2022, it gets easier for me to adapt the practice. In 2022, it gets easier for me to help more people. In 2022, I set the intention that I get to make this my most profitable year in practice. Or in 2022, I set the intention to invest in my practice and still come out on top financially, or whatever it is. So think about the intention that you want to have for your soul-led business, that feels good for you, that you can connect to, that lights you up. And I want you to then think about, how can I create a daily practice from this intention? Because that's where the change is going to come from. Now, daily practice can look, so varied. A daily practice can be you do a visualization in the morning about your successful for you private practice as it relates to this new belief. Or you might journal for 5 minutes in the morning about, manifesting your successful for you private practice in a way that aligns with your intention. You might create an action step. You might ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today to adapt my practice? What's one thing I can do today to contribute to the overall success of my private practice? What's one thing I can do today, right? You get the idea. So using that as a daily journal prompt, writing out an action step, and then actually doing it and ticking it off, that is going to bring your practice into alignment. And you're taking yourself out of living at effect, and you're placing yourself in living at cause, which is what we want, because that's where you do your best work. And it also takes you out of that to me consciousness and places you in by me consciousness, which is super empowering. And we know that in the early stages of you transitioning into by me consciousness, that's where you see the results, because that's where you're working. And I want you to get tangible results in your private practice. But intention setting doesn't have to all be practical hands-on things that you can see out there in the world. An intention might be a shift in your mindset. An intention might be to see the world differently. And an action step from that might be, well, in the morning, I'm going to write out 5 positive aspects of, what's happening in the world at the moment as I relate to my private practice. So to give you an example of that, some of my things might be, well, yes, some of us can't work face-to-face at the moment, and that does restrict me from seeing face-to-face clients. However, one of the positive aspects of this is it's given me the kick I needed to take my business online, and now I can help people beyond my local vicinity. I can help people around Australia, right? Or around the world if you're, doing online stuff for other countries, etc., etc. So start thinking about the positive aspects of what's happening. Another thing you might say is, okay, I can't go and work face to face at the moment with everything that's happening, and I am taking my business online. But hey, guess what? I no longer have to fork out rent on that lease, or I don't have to pay that lease, or I don't have to pay that rent, or I get to work from home now, which means I get more time to do my yoga in the morning, or I can have a slow morning and ease into the day and be better for my clients because I've got time now to get grounded or to, set my intention for a session and all those sorts of beautiful things. So intention setting can be, very masculine. It can also be very feminine in terms of the energy that you bring to it. But of course, it's always a good idea where you can and where it's appropriate to harmonize both of those energies. And I'll give you an example of that. So I know in our group, in the Australian Counsellors in Private Practice online group, I know that some people have been sharing photos of their new spaces. I popped up a picture of my new bookshelves a couple of weeks ago. Somebody else popped up, I think it was Kelly, popped up a picture of his new bookshelves. I think it was June popped up a picture of her new workspace. So, we've all been sort of sharing what we've been doing, and it seems to me like there's been a bit of a impetus for so many of us to be shifting, feel like we need to move the energy and shift the energy. One of the other things that I did, so after I got this new bookshelf, I was really inspired and I thought, this came up much better than I thought. And then what I did was, hired a hubby, okay? I use that service, hire a hubby. And if you live in Mount Eliza, I can highly recommend Greg from Hire a Hubby. He's amazing. He came out 2 days ago and he built a couple of things for my study. So first off, he recessed some shelves for me, and they're really deep shelves, so I can stack boxes and beautiful boxes and all my really tall crystal points. So I've got floor to ceiling recessed bookshelves in my study now. And I asked him to make me a really long table that I wanted to use as a desk. And so now I've got this, he brought it in and assembled it, and it's so beautiful. It's a piece of beech timber. I think it's actually a bench top from Bunnings, and he's put 4 legs on it and a bit of a frame, and it is so long, like I can't even reach the ends of it. And so I've got my computer in the middle. On the left-hand side, I've got my tarot and oracle cards, my candles, my Palo Santo, my notebook, my rose gold pink laptop. On the right, I've got my percolator for all my coffee. I've got my snacks, more oracle cards. I've got my ring light. Do you know what I mean? I've got my little planners out. And I just feel like now that I've got this space, it's just opened everything up. I feel abundant before I even sit down. And now I can be more organized. Okay, so that's really important for me. So this was about, I needed the structures in place, which was that masculine. And then once I had them in place, I could set myself up in a way that feels really beautiful and really aligned for me, that helps me connect with my energy before each session, because I do a little ritual, a service ritual before each session. So now I have beautiful space where I can do that. I also, so that's harmonizing masculine and feminine, right? It looks so beautiful. Like I'm so in love with my new space, and I'm excited to be in this space. The other thing that I've done for intention setting, and I don't know if this is something that you do, but I've created a vision board. So I've been using vision boards for a few years now, and I am loving the way that I've approached this one this year. It's very different. So I've got a board that's divided down the middle, and one half you write on it with the marker and the other half is cork. This works really well for me because it allows me to change things. So on my side where you write, on the whiteboard site, I've put my 90-day plan, and I've written what I'm doing in January, what my focus is, and all of that sort of stuff. On the cork side, I've put my focus words for January and for the year. I've put my mantra. I've written out a goal card. So a goal card is kind of like, you know, bringing your intention from your mind into the real world. You just say something like, you know, it is now the 1st of January 2022, and you know, by 31st of December 2022, I, Brooklyn, will have ... So you fill in the blank, and then you say, and I think, feel, etc., and fill in the blanks for that. And then you put your signature on it. And, you know, I believe that it's true that when you look at this stuff and you look at it every single day, it can't help but manifest into your reality, because you're bringing it into your awareness. And we've spoken about this before, about how, you know, your brain receives 300,000 bits of information per second from your 5 senses. It's how we make sense of the world. It's how we move about in the world. But it can only process 2,000 bits of information. And the 2,000 bits of information is determined by your beliefs. Okay, so have a look at what you manifested in your practice last year. Have a look at what worked out really, really well, and stick with those beliefs and stick with focusing on those. But have a look at the things that you felt could have been better. You could have had a different result, a different outcome, a more desirable outcome. And really ask yourself, how did I manifest this? You know, where was my thinking at then? Was I in to me consciousness? Because you probably weren't in by me consciousness. And have a think about what you were focusing your attention on. And then from there, with that new awareness, ask yourself, okay, moving forward, what would I rather consciously choose to bring into my awareness now? What do I want to see in my awareness now? And it might be something like, I want to see results. Great, but don't just say, I want to see results. Go deeper. What kind of results do you want to see? Is that more followers? Is it more click-throughs on your emails? Is it more appointments in your diary? Or is it less of something? Is it less cancellations? Is it less difficulty with restrictions? Do you know what I mean? Like, allow yourself to get really clear and really specific about what you want to experience in your practice. Write it down and look at it every day. Create an action step from it. If you're not someone who likes to do that, then close your eyes after looking at it and visualize this intention and allow yourself to connect with what's that version of me who's already manifested that thinking, feeling, saying, doing, right? And I think if you can take this one step further and put something in your planner or something in your diary, I create little intentions or daily reminders in Halaxy as an appointment. I block out that time on my Acuity diary as an appointment because I want to really honor the process, and I know this stuff works. So I've set some massive goals for myself this year in 2022 for all sorts of things. I've got goals that are driven by the manifestation of masculine energy. For example, I really want to experience more freedom, and for me, freedom means choices, right? So choice like, do I want to work today or no? What time do I want to finish? Do I want to go to yoga or Pilates today? Like it just gives me freedom. To me means choices. I want more choices. So I have to think, okay, looking at my practice, if I set the intention to manifest more choices, what action steps do I need to put in place? And so one of my action steps was to look at my systems and look at my processes, and I have started to update them. So today's the 2nd of January, and yesterday I updated my sales copy, I updated my fees, I updated my onboarding process, including all emails for people who join my programs. I updated resources, and I'm also updating one of my groups. The Private Practice with Soul monthly membership group is having a makeover at the moment. That's going to advance it and really bring it more into alignment with all the new things that I've been learning, because I want to share them with those people. The other thing that I did was I made a roadmap for my practice, and it just felt so good because I know that when I've updated simple structures like these ones, that then I feel safe. Right? Here's my feminine coming in. Then I feel safe to actually show up and be the fullest expression of myself and do the work, So allow yourself to really reflect on, what is harmonizing the masculine and the feminine going to look for you, and what results do you want to experience from that? Take a look at your next steps. The other thing that can be really, really helpful is to set a word for the year, a word that you want to consciously connect in with every single day. The way that I find this easiest to do, well, there's two ways. One way is to reflect on, what worked and what could have been different last year. And the second way, of course, is to seek confirmation by going within and asking that inner guidance, how you need to be, that's your feminine, or what you need to do, that's your masculine, this year to create your successful for you private practice. Okay, you could ask for guidance on both the masculine and the feminine. For me, what's come through is I need to be more intentional. So, and it doesn't just affect my practice, it affects my life. So, last year was a big year of change for me, paid off the mortgage for mum, paid off my own mortgage, got new property, did all of this stuff. Massive renovations happening at the moment. The business grew a lot. And it was just a really, really, really big year. But there was so much time that I spent in the day because I only work mornings. There was so much time in the day where I wasn't intentional. I was just kind of allowing myself to be guided by what felt right in the moment. And, I was busy and I was loving what I was doing. But as you know, when you're mostly in that feminine, you don't really achieve or complete or finish or see a result because that's all masculine stuff, right? The other thing that happened with me not being intentional was I didn't go outside as much. I was very disconnected from my feminine. So I didn't go outside very much at all. I was a bit of a hermit. Like, I'm an introvert. I love being home. In that way, lockdown's been great for me. I know that's the same for other people as well. Not everybody copes with lockdowns, but it worked really well for me. But I just wasn't intentional. Like, even scrolling through Facebook, scrolling through Instagram, I could do that for hours, and why? Like, nothing good came of it. And I wasn't intentional with what I was eating and putting into my body. I wasn't intentional with connecting with the mother archetype. I was just kind of in go mode because of all these big things that were happening in my life, like with moving and selling houses and paying off mortgages and stuff like that. So it was all very, very masculine. So this year I've set and the other thing that I was doing a lot of last year, and any of you that I did screen recordings for will know this, I was, I would constantly have like 20 tabs open on my desktop. So for me, my word for this year is to be intentional. I just need to pause before I change tasks, pause before I do something, and just check in with myself and ask myself, what's my intention here? Why am I about to do this thing? So that's what's happening in my business. That's my focus for my business, but it's also become the focus for my life. And so what I'm doing now is I'm being intentional with what I put into my body. So I really want to be, thoughtful and mindful. Well, I like the word mindful. I like the concept of it, but it's more about being intentional. I think if I get specific with it, I want to really consider what I'm putting into my body, why I'm putting it into my body. Ask myself, am I feeling full before I give myself another forkful of something? Being able to break old patterns around eating. And, I really want to play with the energy of eating unprocessed foods and just see what that's like. And that's come up. It's funny how you get lessons from the universe, right? So it's come up because over the break, I got obsessed watching a series on Binge called 90 Day Fiancé. And it was so interesting because it's these couples. Mostly they've met online, and there's one that's American and the other one lives in another country, and so they're applying for a K1 visa, which is a fiancé visa. And so the American person has to bring the person from the other country over, and they've got 90 days to get married. Otherwise, that person has to go back to their country. And one of the things that has been like a repeating pattern is a lot of the time people are coming from developing countries or even European countries. And when they come over and they see a supermarket or they see somebody's pantry and they see a box of, like, there was this one lady, I forget where she was from, but when she arrived in America, she opened up the cupboards of her to-be husband's place. And she just saw boxes of everything. And she was like, what's this? And he's like, that's food. She said, that's not food. It's in a box. And so she wanted to go to the supermarket. So he took her to the supermarket. And then she's like, where's the fruit and vegetables? And he was like, what do you want fruit and vegetables for? She said, well, it's food and I want to eat food. And then when they were walking around, he showed her where the apples were. And she said, oh my gosh, that's not an apple. Like, it's a softball. Like, this isn't, where are the normal apples? Why is all the fruit and vegetables so big here? And then she was holding up an onion and she says, this is not a normal onion. Like, onions aren't this big. Onions are that big. And she was showing him, and she said, what's wrong with the produce here? And so it was really interesting. And then there was somebody else, I think he was a bodybuilder from the Ukraine, and the partner, she was American, and they had a baby and she brought him over to America. And again, similar thing, like they were staying with her sister, and in the morning, on their first morning, the sister makes them breakfast cereal. I couldn't make out what it was, but it was breakfast cereal. And he said, what's this? And she goes, it's cereal. And he goes, what's cereal? Like, I've never heard of that word before. Like, what's cereal? And so it was really interesting because he's like, but this isn't food. This is sugar. Like, why are you eating this? Like, no, let's go and get some eggs and some tomatoes and we'll make an omelette. And so I feel like, in a way, I saw so many of these. I felt like it was the universe telling me, hey, stop eating processed food for a little while, give your body a break, and just play. Like, don't lock yourself into anything, just play. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to see what happens. I'm just going to see how I'm going to feel. So intention is one of my words, and acceptance is the other. Okay. Accepting things that are happening around me that I can't change, but also accepting my role in it and accepting what's available to me. And I'll do that with my list of positive aspects. That's what we just spoke about before. So for you, okay, because I want you, the focus this month for me is helping you lean into your masculine, and the drilled down part of that is I really want you this month to experience results in your private practice. So what I would love to give you for guidance here is I want you to be able to set an intention. Number one, it can be a word, it can be a saying, it can be a feeling. Maybe you set the intention to feel abundant. Maybe you set the intention to feel competent or confident. Or maybe you set the intention to, my big word for the year for the business is sovereign. And sovereignty is understanding your role in things, understanding that you still have control, and just understanding that might look different from time to time, and just finding your feet with that. So sovereignty is my overarching theme this year, but this month it's all about how do I support you in having a result as a consequence of listening to this podcast. So the result I want you to take away today is to set an intention for your practice, because I want you to experience results. So set an intention for your practice, and maybe it's going to be a monthly intention, right? This month, I set the intention to receive 5 new referrals. This month, I set the intention to increase visits to my website. This month, I set the intention to feel more confident in starting my private practice, right? Whatever it is. Once you've set that intention, find a way for you that supports you in easily connecting with it, whether that's going within, whether it's a meditation, a visualization, journaling, maybe you want to have a vision board too, but find a practice that's going to support you in connecting with it daily. Now, something else you might want to try is making a wallpaper for your device that's got your intention on it so you can't help but see it. Put your intention as an appointment before you start the day. So like if you start work at 9 a.m., block off 8:30 to 9 a.m. and write your intention there. And then the third step is do one action based on that intention every single day for the next 30 days. Okay? Because I want you to get a result. I want you to see that this works. Okay, sound good? I know, I love it so much. We are going to love this. If you like, feel free to share your intention. I know some people love sharing and some other people also love to share and have some accountability. If that's you, you can absolutely do all of that and receive all of that support in the group Australian Counsellors in Private Practice online. If you're not in it yet, click the show notes. If you would like to have a chat about your private practice and where you're at, I do have complimentary half-hour sessions and you are invited. I would love to see you. You are absolutely invited to book one of those calls, and I promise that I will do my very best to give you a kind of roadmap about these are the things that you need to do next. And if there's a way that I can support you in those things, then I promise that I'll talk to you about them at the end of our conversation too, if you like. Up to you. So you've got your action steps. I can't wait to see how you go. Share them in our group. Thank you so much for listening. If you know somebody who'd benefit from our podcast, please feel free to share it, tag me on social media so that I can say thank you. And, I just love you so much for listening. And let's create a successful for you private practice in 2022. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.